Millionaire reveals a shocking secret to the waitress. She's your daughter and everything CHA. The door swung open, sprinkling a cascade of raindrops onto the floor of the diner. Jessica glanced up, her tired eyes meeting the sharp silhouette of a well-dressed man. His name was Charles. She recalled, an occasional customer whose kindness rippled through the mundane rhythm of her day. As she poured him a fresh cup of coffee, she felt the weight of her life pressing heavily on her shoulders. Every droplet that fell outside mirrored her own cascading worries, the bills piling up, Tyler's failing math tests, and the dreams slipping further from her grasp. "Long day?" he asked, his brow furrowing gently as he studied her expression. "Just the usual grind," Jessica replied, forcing a smile that felt more like plaster than warmth. But her heart sank. What was the usual? Serving coffee and pie while dreaming of a life where she wasn't just scraping by? She served the locals with a smile, but inside, she had a battle raging. What future would there be for Tyler if she couldn't pull their lives out of this rut? The sensation of being trapped gnawed at her insides. There was a flicker of envy as Charles shared stories of his business triumphs. She envied not just his success, but the decisions that came with it. As he animatedly spoke, she felt a yearning tug at her heart, whispering of potential and roads not taken. But with each share, a contrary voice surged up. What had she sacrificed for Tyler? Could she really consider abandoning the hard-earned values of resilience and perseverance she had been instilling in him? Before she could spiral deeper in her thoughts, the words slipped from his lips like a long-held secret. "You know, it's so admirable how you balance everything." "I admire that." Before Jessica could reply, he leaned closer, the atmosphere heavy with unspoken truths. "How did you do it? I mean, just you and him?" A part of her ached. He didn't understand the depth of her struggle. In his world of privilege, he couldn't truly grasp the dread of making dinner out of stale bread and the fear of an eviction notice fraying at the edges of her reality. Still, she found herself sharing, the words tumbling out almost effortlessly. "Every day is like climbing a mountain," she confessed, "and sometimes you wonder if the summit is even there." As the small talk turned into deeper conversations, the diner around them faded. Yet, with each coffee refill and stolen laugh, shadows of doubt crept closer. Was this friendship? Would this connection ripple into her son's life? Just before she latched on a hope, he dropped the bombshell. "Jessica," he said, his voice steady but filled with an unsettling undercurrent, "there's something you need to know about me. I'm your father." Time froze. That flicker of connection shaded into confusion. The words echoed, crashing into her carefully constructed existence. Memories of childhood, a father absent for some supposed greater purpose, flashed like a slideshow, each image darkening her heart. How could he expect her to embrace him? All she wanted was stability for Tyler. The realization washed over her like the pouring rain outside. Her loyalty was under siege. Could she accept this man, a stranger who had turned her life upside down? And what would that mean for Tyler? She wrestled with the emotional tug-of-war, her grip on her apron tightening with every word. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Suddenly, a flash of light shone through the diner's glass window, the evening sun streaking through the clouds in a desperate bid for a last goodbye. Jessica felt the words lodged in her throat. Resentment seethed just below the surface. Could this man really hold the answers to a future she dreamed of? Or would he shatter the fragile fabric of their lives? Just as the diner grew quiet, a familiar figure appeared in the doorway. Tyler stood there, drenched from the rain, and confusion etched across his face. Jessica's heart raced. What did he think? Would he want to speak to this man who abandoned her? Or would he feel the weight of her turmoil? The tension in the air grew thick. All eyes turned toward them, and in that unbearable silence, Jessica was hit with the overwhelming realization. Her life was hanging in the balance, teetering on an edge she never expected to confront. Jessica's heart thudded in her chest, a relentless drumbeat echoing the chaos in her mind. Tyler's gaze darted between her and Charles, his youthful innocence cut through with confusion and unshed tears. The man claiming to be her father stood there, a specter from her past, while her son's future floated precariously before her. "Mom?" Tyler's voice was small, breaking the weighty silence that enveloped them like a thick fog. She felt his uncertainty as acutely as her own, like a knife twisting in her gut. The moment was fraught with significance, a crossroads deciding not just her trajectory, but potentially Tyler's as well. "Tyler, it's not," she struggled to explain, her breath hitching with every word. But how could she summarize a lifetime of absence with a few fragmented sentences? Would he understand that beneath this revelation lay a tangled web of pain and loss? Not just her own, but his too? Who is he? The edge in Tyler's voice hinted at a growing frustration. She saw his fingers flex and curl, a physical manifestation of the turmoil she had sought to shield him from. Maybe a part of him felt as if a new burden had just materialized in his life, shoving aside the innocence he had managed to cling to amid their struggles. With a deep breath, Jessica faced Charles. "What do you want? After all this time, why now?" Her own words tasted bitter, but the reality was harsh. This encounter had already disrupted their fragile stability, and if he wasn't careful, there would be ripples spreading far beyond this small diner. "I want to explain. To make amends." Charles's expression softened, his earlier confidence now mingled with apprehension. "I know I've missed out on everything as your father, but I want to be in both of your lives. I can help." Jessica felt bile rise in her throat. Help. The word echoed mockingly in her mind. She had fought tooth and nail for every scrap of stability in their lives. Come rain or shine, it had always been just the two of them against the world. The thought of allowing this man, who had so casually walked back in her life, felt like handing over the reins to a roller coaster on the brink of catastrophe. "What help would you possibly provide?" She shot back, her voice steady but laced with bitterness. "You've been absent. You left us to fend for ourselves. What rights do you have to stand here now?" Around them, the diner slowly resumed its previous chatter, the normalcy a stark contrast to Jessica's internal turmoil. Diners laughed in corners, orders were called out. But those sounds felt miles away from the cyclone poised in front of her. Tyler shifted nearer to her, his eyes wide, and she realized she needed to shield him, to protect the loyalty they had cultivated from the chaos around them. "Jessica, I know I can't undo the past," Charles said earnestly, "but I have resources, connections, and knowledge I didn't have before. I can help Tyler with school, with whatever he needs." Hot anger surged within her. It wasn't about resources. It was about integrity, reliability, trust, the very pillars she had built her life upon. "You think money changes everything?" This isn't the answer. Tyler's voice broke through, small but resolute. "Mom, what does he even mean? Is he really?" Great questions hung in the air, and Jessica felt the cracks widening, her certainty crumbling under the weight of this unexpected reality. "I need to think," Jessica finally replied, her tone sharper than she intended. Tyler reached for her hand, grounding her to the needs of the moment. "Can we discuss this later? I don't want anything else to change. Tyler, we're okay." But as soon as the words left her mouth, doubt flooded in. They'd been okay, but what did that even mean now? Could she really shelter him from the storm brewing on the horizon? Charles nodded, sensing the tension, stepping back as if to allow them air even amidst the chaos. "I'll be at the inn if you need me." As he turned away, Jessica could feel Tyler's eyes on her, questioning, searching. The trust her son had placed in her felt heavier now. Could she really handle all this alone? A part of her questioned if opening that door could provide opportunities she had only dreamed of, yet feared what was hidden beyond it. What if this was the chance she never anticipated? The impetus she needed to build a life beyond survival. But at what cost? Mom Tyler's voice was hesitant. She turned to see the flicker of concern etched across his face, fear mingled with hope. As she opened her mouth to reassure him, an unsettling thought gripped her heart. Sometimes answers lie in the very places we've sworn never to tread. And as the storm clouds gathered above, Jessica felt the pulse of her own evolution begin a reckoning that would define them both. The shadows of her father lingered, and with that uncertainty came a weighty truth. The time had come to face not just their past, but the potential future that lay spiraling ahead. Jessica's mind raced as the door swung shut behind Charles, the bell overhead chiming like a knell. The din of the diner faded into an indistinct hum as her focus sharpened on Tyler, whose expression mirrored a tumultuous mix of disbelief and sadness. "Mom?" The word hung in the air like a lighthouse beam cutting through fog, desperate for clarity. What just happened? Her heart twisted at the vulnerability in his voice. How could she articulate the complexity of this encounter? She had fought fiercely for their little family, shielded Tyler from the ghosts of her past. Now, this bombshell threatened their fragile equilibrium. Did her silence imply consent to this man's sudden presence in their lives? "Tyler, it's complicated," she finally said, her throat tight. "Yes, he thinks he can help us, but I don't know how. But can we trust him?" The intensity of her son's gaze pierced through the haze of her thoughts. What if he hurts us again? There was the raw, unfiltered worry of a child still grappling with the remnants of his fractured family. Jessica felt the weight of the moment, the burden of the decisions before her bore down like a heavy storm cloud. Tyler's father had walked out the door without a backward glance, leaving them to navigate their path alone. Was Charles any different, or had he merely traded absence for liability? Jessica squared her shoulders, channeling the fierceness that had allowed her to embody the protector and provider for so long. "We don't have to decide anything right now. We have each other, and we've made it this far." She felt a sense of determination swelling within her, a small fire, igniting against the chill of uncertainty. If he wants to be in our lives, he'll have to prove it. It's not our job to welcome him back, just because he says so. Tyler nodded, although his brows remained furrowed. His trust did not come easily, and she admired him for that. How could she cultivate the same sense of wariness, the same selective opening, without scaring him further? As they departed the diner, the day felt unnaturally bright. They walked to the car, the sun shining high above them, but Jessica felt every step heavier with doubt. Today's encounter had unearthed possibilities she had never dared to entertain. Later that evening, as she sat at the small kitchen table, the spill of papers scattered around her reminded her of her unrelenting struggle. A half-formed business plan lay crumpled beside schematics for a local community project. Maybe it was time to grow her career into something more substantial, rather than just surviving day-to-day. Resolute, she picked up her pen and started listing goals. Find a way to create financial stability, revisit her education options, explore networking and mentorship. The act of writing revitalized her spirit for the first time in a long while. The vision she had for herself expanded beyond just managing life one day at a time. But as excitement bubbled within her, doubts lingered. Would she have the resources to keep Tyler safe while pursuing her dreams? Days turned into weeks, and the specter of Charles remained constant in the background. He called occasionally, sent texts, but she remained unresponsive, guarding her heart against a man who for too long had relinquished his paternal role. One evening, Tyler returned home, his cheeks flushed with excitement. "Mom, guess what? They're having a career fair at school. It's all about opportunities." Jessica fought to suppress her irritation. "Tyler, that's great and all, but you're focusing on schoolwork, right? You need good grades, too." "Please?" Tyler interrupted, genuine fire in his eyes. "I really want to go. Maybe it will help us." It struck her then, the sudden realization of how entrapped she had become in her fears. "Okay," she said slowly, weighing the implications. "Let us go together. Maybe we can find something for both of us. Tyler's face lit up even more, a spark of hope igniting between them. As he buzzed with anticipation, Jessica understood this could be an opportunity to expand their world, even if it meant stepping out of her comfort zone. She knew Charles might be watching her every move, but she felt anchored in her newfound sense of agency. Would her resolve break under the pressure of potential betrayal? Could she really forge a brighter future from the fractured pieces of her past? As Jessica's decision began to clarify, she felt a pang of foreboding pass through her, a reminder that the ghosts lurking on the periphery would let her navigate this path without challenge. What awaited her at the career fair could change everything, but confronting Charles loomed like a specter, reminding her that redemption isn't always offered its fought for. The day of the career fair arrived with an early autumn chill, the air biting yet refreshing, echoing the mixed emotions churning inside Jessica. She glanced at her reflection in the mirror, an assortment of well-rehearsed confidence battling uncertainty in her mind. The light from the kitchen window illuminated her weary eyes, a reminder of late nights spent planning amidst the chaos of being both mother and potential entrepreneur. "Mom, can we go now?" Tyler's voice pulled her from her thoughts, filled with eagerness that was contagious and somewhat alarming. Did he truly understand what this meant? It wasn't just a career fair. It was a step toward whatever dreams lay beyond their small, predictable life. "Sure," she said, trying to muster a smile, but the tension in her stomach didn't dissipate. As they walked to the car, the weight of what lay ahead pressed down on her. Could they truly redefine their existences here, among others who might seem more capable, more prepared? Arriving at the venue, the buzz of voices greeted them, a cacophony of youthful excitement layered with the sharp undertone of ambition. Jessica felt swallowed whole by the energy. It was intoxicating and intimidating. Tyler's hand slipped into hers, a grounding tether amid the chaos as they navigated through row after row of kiosks. "Look, Mom, over there, they have a booth for internships in digital marketing." His face lit up again, reflecting the dreams she wanted to nurture, but fear tugged tightly at her heart. She had spent so much time trying to shield him from disappointment. What if this, too, was just a fleeting moment, a glimpse of hope that could easily vanish? "Okay, let's check it out," she replied, her voice steadier than her thoughts. As they approached the booth, a young woman in a professional suit smiled warmly. "Hi, I'm Sarah. Are you interested in learning about our internship program?" Her enthusiasm was palpable, contrasting sharply with Jessica's apprehension. Could she advocate for Tyler, combat the lingering doubt that had clawed at her since that conversation with Charles? "Yes, my son here is interested," Jessica said, glancing at Tyler, who stood slightly behind her, eyes wide with anticipation. "He is really good with computers and, marketing." Encouraged, Tyler stepped forward. "I made some websites and worked on social media for a school project. I'd love to learn more." Each word from his mouth was a revelation of his burgeoning confidence, and Jessica felt a surge of pride mixed with a pang of anxiety. What if this was a wrong turn, a door to another disappointment? Instead of focusing on her teeth-gnashing doubts, Jessica turned inward and listened. The presentation unfolded, and with it, Tyler's possibilities expanded. They discussed workshops that could teach him valuable skills, while Jessica leaned closer, trying to absorb tips on future educational needs and making connections that could potentially lead to a brighter financial landscape. But lurking in the back of her mind was the ghost of Charles. What if he was right about needing a man in the house, about teaching Tyler things she couldn't? If Charles wanted to be part of this, he better prove his worth, she resolved silently. The hours slipped away as booths gave way to workshops filled with inspiring stories and glowing testimonies. With Tyler's excitement building, Jessica's determination solidified. She needed to take control of their narrative. The instinct to wall off her vulnerability must give way to collaboration. She had to learn to pivot, to adapt, and draw from every available resource without alienating what mattered most, her son. During a workshop, amidst a group discussion, Jessica raised her hand, her voice unexpectedly steady. What if we've been given a single vision of success, but have ignored the myriad of possibilities? Maybe we shouldn't follow convention. Instead, we should create our unique paths. Her words hung in the air, sparking eyebrows raised and heads nodding. For the first time, she saw a glimpse of influence, the power of her voice, rising over insecurity, and suddenly, the weight didn't feel so heavy. If she could articulate a vision for something beyond the ordinary, perhaps they could both cultivate lives filled with potential. History wasn't set. It could shift, bend, and perhaps even reshape them both. A new determination surged through her, but alongside it, the shadow of Charles lingered forever in the corner of her conscience. And as they left, Tyler turned to her with wide eyes. "I think I want to apply. I can help with the website. You just need to submit something for the program, right?" "I think you have a great chance," Jessica said, barely concealing the fear creeping back in. "But let us keep focused on making informed choices." Stepping outside, lights streamed onto the pavement, illuminating the clouds parting overhead. Jessica's heart raced with possibilities, but as a text pinged from her phone a number she wanted to see, her stomach twisted with looming responsibility. "What now?" she whispered to herself, her joy tainted with the familiar uncertainty. The moment had arrived where confrontation was inevitable. Would she take the next step into her potential future, or succumb to the shadows seeking to dominate their lives? The choice lay before her, and Charles's influence in the equation couldn't be ignored any longer. Jessica could feel the tension rise as she reached for her phone, her decision solidifying this time. The canvas of her life was hers to paint. With a deep breath, she opened the message. What would it reveal about her next step? Would it fortify her resolve, or shatter the moment of clarity she had almost grasped? Jessica's fingers trembled as she tapped on the text message. Each heartbeat echoed, and an unsettling awareness loomed over her. The message read simply, "We need to talk. Tonight. Your place." It was from Charles. The chill of the autumn air met her skin. The warmth of the day faded. A rush of memories flooded back, arguments, misunderstandings, and a sinking realization that she had allowed one man's doubt to infiltrate her spirit. The urgency pressed down on her like an anvil, but she had a choice to make. Should she allow this encounter to propel her back into doubt, or use it to further galvanize her resolve? "Mom, are you okay?" Tyler's voice broke her trance, pulling her back to the present. "Yeah, just thinking." She forced a smile, but the tension in her belly returned, tighter than before. Returning to the car, Tyler babbled excitedly about his plans for the internship, his voice remarkably steady. He didn't sense the storm brewing in Jessica's mind. As they drove home, she replayed the day's experiences, how Tyler's enthusiasm seemed to drown out her fears, how empowering it felt to speak up in the workshop. Could she bring that same energy back into her home, defend her newfound perspective against Charles? Arriving home, Tyler dashed upstairs to research the position at the internship. Jessica stood in the entrance, her heart racing with indecision. Should she prepare herself for a confrontation with Charles? Would he ridicule her ambitions, as so often before? The memories of his derision whispered in her ear, rekindling old insecurities. But now they were merely ghosts. She had spoken up today. She had made a difference in that workshop, no matter how minute it seemed. With a deep breath, she grabbed a notebook from the kitchen counter. The pages were filled with sketches of aspirations, the dreams she'd buried long ago. Each line seemed to breathe life back into her ambitions as she scribbled notes and ideas, aligning them with what she had learned that day. The sense of purpose coursed through her veins. These were her ideas, her future. As the evening approached, she set the notebook aside. Composed and fortified by the day's revelations, she prepared for the confrontation. Whether Charles arrived as an ally or saboteur, she wouldn't hide from him anymore. When he finally knocked, the sound echoed through the hallway, stirring the resolve inside her. She opened the door and faced him, his expression unreadable, angry or conciliatory. She couldn't tell. I'm glad you're here, she stated firmly, wanting to establish tone right from the beginning. I've had some thoughts I'd like to share, too. About what? He replied, stepping inside without invitation. His voice held a sharp edge. About us, about Tyler, about what I want to achieve. Today was a big day for us both. Charles crossed his arms, skepticism written across his face. I saw that you were involved. But you know that kids are influenced by their parents, right? He needs guidance. A father's guidance. The words hung heavy in the air, loaded with condescension. The flicker of old fear danced in the back of Jessica's mind, but she didn't let it take root. He needs support too, and maybe you don't have all the answers. Charles stepped closer, narrowing the gap between them, the tension palpable. Careers don't happen in a vacuum. You need someone who understands the business world that's where you're wrong. She interrupted, her voice rising slightly. I'm learning to navigate this on my own, and Tyler is discovering what he loves. Don't you see? We're changing the narrative here. His brow furrowed, surprise momentarily flashing across his face. But then, the mask of indifference returned. So you think a few workshops make you a business mogul? It's more than that. She snapped back, grasping at the thread of her courage. It's about understanding potential and taking action. I'm not the person I was last year. I won't let your doubts dim my light anymore. The confrontation struck a nerve in Charles, yet instead of backing down, his eyes seemed to harden. Expect this to backfire on you. You're putting Tyler at risk by playing this game. Jessica's resolve wavered for just a heartbeat, but she reminded herself of the excitement she'd seen in Tyler's eyes. He deserves to explore, not just to follow the path laid out for him. And if you can't support that I'm his father, I will always be involved, he interrupted, his voice low but forceful. Then you need to step up and find a way to encourage him, not smother him. They stood there, each measuring the weight of their intentions, caught between the past and a future that could be radically different. It was time to either leave things as they were or confront the truth about how dynamics were shifting not just in their lives, but in the world around them. Are you ready to evolve? Jessica challenged, her heart racing not just from the adrenaline, but from the prospect of backing her words with action. The room was charged with tension. Either this would fracture their relationship further or spark a radical shift in their family dynamics. For the first time, Jessica felt fiercely hopeful, not bound by history, but propelled by a future she craved to build. Because if you're not, she pressed, changing the focus back to him, then maybe we really need to talk about what our family looks like moving forward. As their words hung in the silence, the burden of choice now lay heavily upon both of them. But for once, Jessica knew she wouldn't back down. This time, she was ready to redefine everything. Could this be the moment when all pieces finally fell into place? Or would the past prove too heavy to carry into their future? The air felt electric, crackling with unspoken words and unyielding emotions. Jessica's heartbeat synchronized with the weight of the moment, both a challenge and a promise to the future she envisioned for herself and Tyler. Evolution. It danced tantalizingly in front of her, a beacon calling forth the courage to confront the past. Charles' expression wavered between arrogance and uncertainty. For once, he seemed to process her words rather than dismiss them as he usually would. The stubborn silence stretched, each second amplifying the tension. Jessica's mind raced with conflicting thoughts. Had she finally pierced through the indifference, or was he simply plotting his next retort? Jessica, he began, but she cut him off. No, let me finish. This isn't just about our disagreements anymore. It's about setting an example for our son. I want to allow you to treat me as an afterthought or an obstacle in your life. Nor will I let you diminish Tyler as potential simply because it's uncomfortable for you. As the fire of her words flickered at Charles' carefully crafted exterior, Jessica felt a strength swelling within her. For so long, she had been sidelined, a mere spectator in her own life. But now, she was ready to reclaim her narrative, to transform it into a story of empowerment, not one of regret. Do you hear yourself? He retorted, his voice rising, desperation seeping through. You think you woke up today and became some entrepreneurial guru? It takes years of experience, years of navigating failures and successes, not just some workshop. Then let me learn. Jessica shot back, her voice steady and clear. Anger surged not from her core, but from a place of determination. You don't get to dictate how I pursue my dreams or what I teach our son about chasing his. You think ambition will magically shield him from disappointment? His eyes narrowed, the walls he fortified in their relationship now taking on the role of a battle line. It's not about shielding him from everything. It's about giving him the tools to thrive. I'll be darned if I let my fear of failure come between his aspirations. Each statement felt simpler, yet grew charged with meaning, stringing together the fabric of the new Jessica rising. For a moment, the anger flickered in Charles's eyes, replaced by something softer, almost hesitant. Jessica seized upon it, determination mounting. This wasn't simply about winning an argument. It was a definitive step towards creating a change that both she and Tyler needed. Let me reshape my life and our family, yes, she continued, the words gaining weight. I refuse to play by your rules, not anymore. This is my evolution, and it's not contingent upon your approval. Charles shifted, uncertainty creeping into his posture. The remnants of his previous confidence began to fray. What do you expect from me, Jess? His question hung in the air, an implicit acknowledgement that the old pattern could shift. I expect you to support me. I expect you to recognize that our aspirations don't operate in competition, but in harmony. We can thrive individually and together, but only if we allow space for each other. His brow furrowed, a silent storm brewing in his mind as he wrestled with her insistence. Was he prepared to accept that their futures no longer intertwined in the way he had always assumed? Jessica sensed the shift. Had she breached the fortress? It dawned on her that there was more at stake than just their immediate conflict. She had ignited a flicker of hope, not just for herself, but for Tyler as well. Jessica, he began, his voice now a whisper, almost pleading. Look, I won't expect changes overnight, she offered, her tone softening, becoming the anchor to counter the storm. But if we're going to create a better environment for Tyler, we need to be on the same side. She watched as the stubborn lines on Charles' face softened, a trace of vulnerability peeking through. Perhaps this was just the beginning of a long journey, one that required them both to break free, to grow past the versions of themselves that had limited their perspective and potential. But as their gaze met, Jessica felt an incessant pull in her gut, an overwhelming need to ensure Tyler was at the center of this renewal. It's time to really evaluate who we are and what we want to be as a family. With her heart pounding and a sense of unsteady anticipation coursing through her, she knew that the conversation was far from over. If she could unravel one layer of Charles' resistance, what else lay ahead? As conflicting emotions shifted across his features, Jessica felt the weight of their shared history bearing down, but held firm, refusing to retreat. Are you willing to try? She ventured softly, each word carrying the weight of her bold intentions. Maybe, he said tentatively. That crumbling facade ignited her hope. The path forward was no longer an abstract possibility. It was a decision awaiting both of them. As she absorbed the moment, it dawned on her that the next step would not stem from another discussion, but from tangible actions, commitments to honor not just individual growth, but the essence of what family could embody. Would they both seize the chance to embrace a new narrative? The real challenge lay ahead, one that would require vulnerability and resilience. Jessica felt the unmistakable urge to act, to show both herself and Tyler that she meant every word. Walking into that uncertain territory felt daunting yet empowering. And with a small nod, she turned toward the kitchen where she knew more ideas and plans awaited her. But as she did, an unsettling thought sprouted. What if their past met them at every decision? Were they really prepared to redefine the entire landscape of their family? The moment lay before them, ripe for transformation, yet her heart danced in the thrill of the unknown, eager to push further into the depths of that revelation. After all, evolution would demand more than just words. It would require them to confront the uncharted waters of what lay ahead. Jessica stood in the kitchen, the hum of the refrigerator blending with the whispers of her racing thoughts. The weight of her earlier confrontation with Charles still lingered in the air like a charged electric current. She felt an urgency to ground her ideas, as if they were swirling galaxies waiting to be harnessed into something tangible. Her past and her insecurities danced on the edges of her mind. It would be easy to slip back into self-doubt, to relinquish control, and allow the familiar currents to pull her back into the shadows. But what did evolution really mean for her? A single glance at the table filled with neatly stacked papers, brainstorms, and future project plans pulled her back. She had dreams to ignite, aspirations to mold into reality. This was a challenge not just against her old self, but a chance to create a legacy for Tyler that stretched beyond the walls of their current lives. Pacing slowly, Jessica reflected on what she had learned from her discussion with Charles. Supporting each other meant sacrificing the ego they both clung to. It meant carving out space for vulnerability in a landscape that had cultivated rigidity for too long. She felt a primal urge rush through her veins, the kind that comes from recognizing that dreams don't wait, and neither would she. Each heartbeat echoed a mantra: "You are capable. You are worthy." With a sudden realization, she grabbed her notepad from the table and began to jot down ideas that had long festered unacknowledged in her mind. The thoughts flowed freely. Create an online platform for parenting resources, start a small workshop on resilience and ambition, launch a blog to share my journey and insights on family dynamics. Each idea felt lighter than the last, her pen dancing across the paper in rhythm with the growing certainty coursing through her. Yet, as determination ignited a fire within her, she couldn't shake the fear of the unknown. What would happen when the plans turned into action? Would divide with Charles harden into impenetrable fronts, or would their tentative truce foster something beautiful? She swallowed hard, envisioning potential obstacles along the way. It wouldn't be easy, not even close. Her mind drifted to Tyler. Would he understand her transformation? Would he feel empowered by her journey? She could already visualize the lessons she could impart, the character she could shape by demonstrating that the pursuit of one's ambitions does not belittle one's responsibilities. This was not a solitary endeavor. Whatever path she forged would intricately weave through the fabric of their family. But her thoughts spiraled back to Charles. Digging deep, she recognized that her evolution required not just her own commitment, but also a recalibration of expectations regarding their relationship. Was she truly ready to meet him halfway, to engage in vulnerability while challenging the status quo? Pacing back, she mentally rehearsed the conversation they needed to have about the next steps. "We need to outline what this looks like moving forward," she whispered to herself, her voice steady. "We need to be open about our fears, our hopes, and structure this partnership." She stopped abruptly. That day, boldness had barely graffiti-tagged the remnants of their old lives. Transitioning to a new way of being would require more than words and intentions. It would involve setting boundaries and discussing practices that fostered a collaborative environment, a space where individual aspirations could thrive together. Glancing at the clock, she noticed the hours slipping away. If they were to create a new narrative, that discussion could begin in mere hours. But as she moved to pin down a final thought, her heart raced, ensnared by uncertainty. Would Charles truly support her pursuits, or would her ambitions become another battleground? Before she could ponder further, her phone buzzed. A text from her old mentor flashed across the screen, urging her to participate in a community entrepreneurship seminar. It was tempting. It felt like a sign. But was she ready? Could she step into the world of possibility when so much remained unresolved at home? Jessica felt her heart quicken at the crossroads, sensing stifling doubt prick at her resolve, but also a flicker of exhilaration. The culmination of her choices was within reach. She took a deep breath, a decision forming in her mind. Perhaps it was time to leap headfirst and discover how her capabilities could not only reshape her life, but also transform the dynamics of their family. Would she muster enough courage to step onto this new path? And what impact would her choice have on her relationship with Charles and their future? The answers lay in the moments that would follow, each decision rippling into the fabric of their lives. As she typed a reply accepting the seminar invitation, she understood that this wasn't merely about pursuing her dreams. It was about redefining herself amid its intricate consequences. Would building this new version of herself bolster Tyler's world? Or would it unravel everything? The tremor of uncertainty gripped her, leaving her on the precipice of something profound. What awaited her on this newly unfolding journey? Jessica's fingers hovered over her phone screen. The words "I'll be there" written and erased multiple times as doubt overshadowed her eagerness. Accepting the seminar invitation meant stepping into a world that felt foreign and exhilarating. Yet, it also meant confronting the tangled emotions she had with Charles head-on. What would he think about her growing ambitions? Would he discontinue his efforts to understand her new aspirations if they contradicted with his own? After a moment's hesitation, she hit send. A sense of resolve washed over her. She wanted to transform her thoughts into action, and attending the seminar was a vital step toward that evolution. The timing, however, was unsettling. She knew discussing this with Charles would only matter if she handled it carefully. Yes, she moved about the kitchen, washing dishes that had long been neglected, her mind churned with possibilities. Perhaps attending the seminar would provide the direction she sought and fortify her resolve, giving her the tools to engage in meaningful discussions with Charles about their shared future. But how could she frame her ambitions constructively without igniting his defensiveness? Jessica turned off the faucet, drying her hands as questions ricocheted in her mind. Instead of envisioning conflict, she focused on collaboration. They had always been a team, even when the storms of discontent flooded their lives. Her heart raced with both excitement and trepidation as she sat back down at the kitchen table. It was there that her notebook awaited, full of ideas yet to be explored. How could she initiate a conversation that would invite Charles into her world rather than push him away? She needed clarity, a focused agenda to present when they met later. She flipped to a new page and began to draft a conversation starter. "Charles, I've been reflecting on some ideas. I want to talk about the future, not just mine, but ours as a family. I've accepted an invitation to a seminar that aligns with my new aspirations. I hope to explore how we can both support and uplift each other as we grow." Suddenly, the door creaked open, and Charles stepped in, déjà vu washing over her. His brow furrowed slightly, but there was a curious light in his eyes. He sensed something significant had shifted during her time alone. "Hey," he said casually, but there was an unspoken tension in the air, thick with anticipation. "Hey," she managed back, then shifted her weight, forcing herself to engage. "I've been thinking about some things we need to discuss." The tension between them unfurled like a road untraveled. She could see the uncertainty flicker across his expression. Would he lean back, embracing the challenge of growth, or would he retreat to the safety of their previous rhythms, deflecting change as a threat? "Okay, let us talk," he replied, his voice steady but guarded, an unspoken challenge resting in the silence that followed. The dynamics of their interaction were vital now. The enormity of what she was attempting to bring to life began to crystallize into actionable steps. She needed to encourage transparency without fear, honesty without harshness. As they settled down at the dining table, Jessica inhaled deeply, her heart pounding. "I received an opportunity that I think could really shape the direction of my career." There it was. The door had opened, and she mentally prepared herself. Charles leaned forward, intrigue mixed with worry etched across his features. "What kind of opportunity?" Jessica's words tumbled out, a stream of hope and vulnerability, how attending the seminar could bolster not only her ambitions, but their family's future, how it could enrich Tyler's perception of personal growth and empowerment. She held nothing back, pouring out her desires, the plans she envisioned, and the possibility of a cooperative effort toward shared goals. But as she spoke, she noticed Charles's expression darken, his posture becoming more rigid. The moment her enthusiasm peaked, He interjected, "But what about the time this will take? The commitments we have now?" The initial spark of hope stumbled, but Jessica steadied herself. "This could give us both perspectives to work from something to build on together. Our family needs to see that ambition doesn't erase responsibility." His eyes met hers, probing them for sincerity. The weight of their future hung between them, fragile yet compelling. She felt poised on the edge of a precipice, their relationship dangling precariously. For a heartbeat, the silence stretched, and in that moment, something shifted, an undercurrent of possibility surged. "Do you trust me to explore this?" she whispered, vulnerability creeping through her voice. The question hung heavy in the air, rich with implications. Would Charles take this leap of faith with her? Were they both ready to redefine the edges of their lives together? Just as his lips parted to respond, the phone buzzed again, this time a reminder of the seminar date, looming mere days away. They were standing at a crossroads, and Jessica could feel destiny looming on the other side. Would they navigate this together, or would fear push them back into the old ways? The decision awaited, threatening to unravel everything they had built. Jessica's heart raced as she watched Charles's expression shift. There was hesitation etched into his features, a conflicting mix of concern and hesitation as he absorbed her words. The air thickened with unresolved feelings, her needs juxtaposed against the backdrop of his apprehensions. This conversation had the potential to reshape their paths, yet doubt crackled in the empty spaces between them. "Trust isn't the issue for me," he said slowly, his voice gravelly with uncertainty. "It's about priorities. I just don't see how adding one more thing is the answer." His eyes, usually warm, had become hesitant, almost shielded. She felt a pang of frustration bubble up. It wasn't only about her desires, but a vision for their family. "You've got work, the house. Tyler, how does this fit?" His words echoed Jessica's insecurities. Was she seeking too much? The prospect of stepping back from the family's daily grind for personal growth felt daunting, yet remaining static terrified her more. She needed to articulate this urgency to him without triggering defensiveness. Inspiration building inside her was not a guilty secret. It was a path she wished to tread alongside Charles. "I understand where you're coming from," she replied, attempting to ground the conversation. "But think about it. What if this seminar opens doors for us? I can't let fear dictate our choices anymore. Tyler is growing up. He'll see our choices as reflections of what we value." Charles's brow furrowed deeper. "You think he'll see business seminars and late nights as values?" He leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms. His posture mirrored the divide she feared. Time for diplomacy, she thought. She leaned forward, intuition sharpening her approach. She needed to bridge this gap and connect his vision with hers. What would it mean for Tyler to witness us pursuing our dreams? An example of adaptability, ambition, and collaboration. That's how strong families thrive. Don't you want that for him? As she spoke, Jessica could feel a flicker of understanding begin to illuminate Charles's guarded expression. The words flowed like water now, washing away some of the tension. "What if we experiment, take it one step at a time? I'm not asking to abandon our responsibilities. I'm asking for your support in growing together. I just worry that you'll drown and leave us behind," he muttered, his voice devoid of the usual strength she had come to rely on. The undercurrent of fear was palpable, and she wanted to reach out, to pull him closer rather than push him away. "Let us make sure that doesn't happen," she countered, firm resolve cutting through their doubts. "We could schedule our family meetings around it. We could be an example of balance." For a moment, she feared he wouldn't accept her vision, that the chasm would remain unbridged. Yet, as he looked at her, a softening began to take root. The tension melted slightly, revealing remnants of hope. "A balance sounds ideal," he replied slowly. "But how do I know it won't consume you? You know how you get once you're passionate." Jessica smiled, heartened. "You'll know, Charles. You'll be there. Talk to me if it feels right or wrong. Transparency means we navigate this together." He leaned forward, weighing her words. Okay, he finally said, sounds of reluctant acceptance mingling with doubt. Let's see how it plays out. Suddenly, a buzz invaded the air again, this time her calendar app reminding her of the impending seminar. The date was encroaching fast, amplifying her anxiety once more. Jessica could feel a mixture of excitement coil inside, but also a renewed determination. Charles shifted in his seat, drawing a collective breath, when a new wave of thought struck her. You know, Charles, I should probably ask someone to review the seminar materials with me. Do you think you could? He blinked in surprise, the question hanging between them like a lifeline. She watched as the gears turned in his mind, darkness chasing light across the landscape of his thoughts. Would he take that leap again? Provide that support she craved? I guess I could, he replied slowly, a decaying armor evident in his tone. Jessica felt a crack in the wall between them widened slightly. There was an opportunity hidden in that willingness. It could be fun, maybe even something that sparks new ideas I never thought about. Your perspective might see things I don't. Sure, Jess, but he hesitated. This doesn't change all the demands we have. No, it doesn't, she said, excitement bubbling back. But to start, right? And who knows what more it could mean. Just as the tentative sparks of reconciliation sparked in a flame, a soft thud echoed from the hallway. Tyler, clumsily trying to maneuver his skateboard in the house, sent her heart racing. Life had a way of demanding her attention, bringing responsibilities back to the forefront. Mom, Dad, look, he shouted, as laughter bubbled from deep within. Jessica glanced at Charles, who appeared momentarily distracted. This moment, though chaotic, illuminated their challenge, fostering dreams while dealing with daily life. They had a lot to unravel, and she sensed an even bigger mountain lay ahead. Could they keep balancing their ambitions without losing each other in the process? As her phone buzzed again, a reminder of the seminar's proximity, she sensed another decision loomed, one that would test not only their resolve, but the fabric of their relationship. The stakes were higher than ever, and the clock was ticking. Would they emerge stronger, or would fear trip them before they even began? The next decision was taking shape, and it threatened to push them to their limits. The days following the email from the entrepreneurship seminar flashed by in a whirl of anticipation and anxiety. Jessica wrestled with her thoughts, balancing her excitement for future possibilities with the lingering doubts surrounding her relationship with Charles. Each sunrise brought new challenges, yet she was now firmly committed to her journey of evolution both for herself and for Tyler. The seminar loomed on the horizon, and Jessica poured her energy into preparation. A notebook brimming with the notes she'd meticulously gathered lay on the kitchen table, a visual testament to her focus and determination. She focused on her goals, refining her vision, and rallying her self-confidence. Every time she saw Tyler smile, a flood of hope surged within her on the day of the seminar. The atmosphere buzzed with an electricity that excited every nerve in her body. She could feel the potential in the air as she stood outside the venue, her heart racing. A voice inside her echoed a simple mantra: "You can conquer this." She stepped inside, ready to transform the dreams she had penned into tangible action. Inside, she plunged into discussions with fellow attendees, sharing ideas, aspirations, and experiences. The sessions were a blend of deep insights and collaborative energy, awakening a passion she hadn't felt in years. Each conversation kindled her ambition, illuminating her path beyond mere survival. Jessica felt alive in the midst of an intense breakout session focused on entrepreneurial strategies. She found herself speaking up confidently, articulating her vision for a parenting resource platform. The group nodded in agreement, and the leaders listened intently, providing constructive feedback that energized her resolve. With every word she spoke, she became increasingly aware of the evolution taking place within her, an unmistakable transition from self-doubt to self-assurance. Later, during a networking break, she connected with several industry professionals, exchanging contact information and discussing opportunities that could bring her vision to life. As she shared her aspirations and perceived obstacles, She noticed recognition and camaraderie shining in their eyes. It dawned on her that she was no longer alone in her journey. She had allies who understood the complexity of pursuing dreams while balancing responsibilities. The individual growth she experienced was palpable, and she felt a deep sense of accomplishment. Returning home that evening, Jessica's heart soared. Tyler greeted her with unrestrained enthusiasm, eyes sparkling with his mother's newfound energy. He peppered her with questions about the seminar, eager to understand what inspired her. "Did you meet anyone cool? What are you going to do next?" he implored. Jessica looked down at Tyler, pride and love intertwining in her chest. "You know what, buddy? I did meet some really incredible people who believe in the same things I do. And I'm going to start a project that could really help families like ours." The joy in his smile was overwhelming. She could feel her past doubts starting to dissolve. As they settled down for dinner, Jessica seized the opportunity to discuss the day's experiences with Charles. Inviting him to the table, she laid out her excitement. "The seminar really opened my eyes, Charles. I learned so much about entrepreneurship, and I think I can finally build something meaningful for us." Charles listened, silent and thoughtful, the tension that had colored their prior conversations melting away. The old skepticism in his eyes was absent, replaced instead with a glimmer of curiosity. The mere act of sharing her achievements with him demonstrated the transformation he had long missed. "Sounds like it was a valuable experience," he finally said, a hint of admiration seeping into his voice. "And maybe I could help review your business plan, if that's okay." Jessica could hardly contain her surprise. "Really? You want to assist?" There was no denying the emotions swirling within her: hope, excitement, and even a hint of disbelief engulfing her. "Yeah, I've seen some of what you're capable of lately, Jess. It's inspiring," Charles replied. In that moment, they both recognized a crucial pivot in their relationship. They were no longer just two individuals struggling to navigate the past, but rather co-collaborators on a shared journey toward growth. A flash of relief coursed through Jessica as she took Tyler's hand. "Let us do this together. If we each focus on our strengths, we can support one another and become stronger as a family." The willingness to embrace this new dynamic was a watershed moment for all three of them. As Tyler beamed at his mother and father, Jessica felt a rush of confidence wash over her, a palpable testament to her evolution. Gone were the days of merely surviving. She had stepped into her potential, ready to achieve a collective vision rooted in love, understanding, and growth. That evening, Jessica began drafting her business plan alongside Charles, the vibrant hum of unity filling the room. Challenges lay ahead, certainly, but as she forged ahead, facing obstacles with a clear perspective, she knew this collaboration would be the key to their newfound family harmony. Jessica's heart surged. At last, they were on the cusp of transformation. Reality awaited, and she was excited to conquer it with her newfound clarity, purpose, and strength. This is the moment you need to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you won't miss more exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to support our mission and feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about this inspiring journey of personal transformation. Don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this powerful conclusion. Your support matters.